Richard Feldman was a retired postmaster living in a modest brick home on Orchard Street. Widowed 5 years prior, he lived alone but was known for feeding stray cats, attending synagogue, and mailing handwritten letters to his grandchildren. In early September 1995, neighbors grew concerned when they hadn't seen him for several days. Newspapers piled on the porch, the garden was overgrown, and the house, always bright, stayed dark. A wellness check by police revealed Richard lying on the floor in his kitchen. He had been dead for at least 4 days. There were no signs of forced entry, but blunt trauma to the back of his head indicated foul play. Richard's only living relatives were his estranged nephew, Daniel Feldman, and Daniel's fiancée, Miranda. They had recently reconnected after a long estrangement. Daniel had begun visiting Richard over the summer, allegedly to patch things up. Detectives learned that Richard had just updated his will 2 weeks prior, removing a local synagogue as his beneficiary, and instead naming Daniel as the sole inheritor of his house and savings. That change immediately raised red flags. A break in the case came from an unlikely source, a locksmith named Jerry, who reported to police that he had been called to Richard S. house on August 30th by a man claiming to be his nephew. The man said he was locked out of Uncle Richard's house and needed access. Jerry gave a description that matched Daniel Feldman. When detectives confronted Daniel, he admitted to visiting his uncle on the 30th but claimed Richard was alive and well when he left. But surveillance footage from a nearby gas station showed Daniel making a large cash withdrawal later that day. Money that forensic accounting would later trace back to Richard S.'s missing cash stash. The autopsy revealed that Richard was struck with a heavy object, likely a crowbar or hammer, and that he had been attacked from behind. There was no sign of struggle, suggesting he had been ambushed. Fingerprint analysis found Daniel's prints on multiple items in the kitchen, including a ceramic mug that appeared to have been moved from its usual place. When asked about it, Daniel became evasive. A search of Daniel A.'s apartment revealed a crowbar with traces of blood and hair, later matched to Richard D.I.'s DNA. The final blow to Daniel's story came from Miranda, his fiancée. After learning she was being investigated as a possible accomplice, she agreed to cooperate in exchange for immunity. Miranda revealed that Daniel had been pressuring Richard to revise his will. When Richard hesitated, Daniel allegedly told Miranda, "He's an old man. If he dies now, it's just nature doing its job." Miranda also admitted that Daniel returned home late on August 30th with his clothes smelling of bleach and told her to burn the shoes. On October 11, 1995, Daniel Feldman was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, fraud, and tampering with evidence. At trial, the prosecution detailed his financial desperation and willingness to kill for inheritance. Despite his defense attorney claiming there was no direct eyewitness, the circumstantial evidence, especially Miranda's testimony in the crowbar, was overwhelming.